welcome everyone who has come from all the different places you've come to be here. Taking time for topics and to be together is one of the greatest honors for me in the world, to be able to spend time with you. My work brings me to some of the finest and most fascinating women in the world, and this company brings many of these women together in the living room once a month, every third Wednesday. There have been few exceptions to that. We see women now joining on very consistently, so I'm going to give you a little overview of what we're doing today and welcome them, have them get a cup of tea, whatever it takes to settle. There will be a lot of women on today's call. We will open up the mics at the end of today's call and have conversations with women. If you do not feel like speaking, just say, I'm listening today, and that means that we're fine. We move right on. There'll be a lot of women that have experience today and a lot of women that have questions today. The first part of our presentation, Gratitude, the Essential Key to Success, will be basically me giving you some ideas, some thoughts, and some information. We're then going to move right into Gina Liberman, who's a colleague and a really very significant part of the Essential Feminine Company, who will be coming towards probably a little bit halfway in to give us information on the actual topic as she understands it. And I'll be introducing her formally soon. So as women come on, I want to actually welcome you and begin officially right now. So the living room is an amazing place. The living room is where we felt we could bring women together in the most dynamic way once a month. Like I said, there's been a couple of months missed in the last 3 years, but not many. And we're here because we really want to network. We really want to get to know each other. People have shown up in guest surprises. We've had amazingly famous women here. We've had very passive, quiet women that have done some of the greatest work on the planet here. And we're also open to hearing from women as to who they would like to see in the living room coming forward. So please let us know if there's anyone in particular that you really want to see here. Women are showing up, just as you're showing up. I want you to know a little bit about the Essential Feminine Company because we've been working for about 3 years, and this past year has been our most public and most recognized year, where we will get up to 10,000 women to register for a course. We're a life and business design company, and we support women worldwide to live lives that are based on what they value. Because so much of our life is around what's given to us or what we should do. We really base on the core of what we value. And from that feminine perspective, and we do this through the online courses, our private consulting, and we invite you to join us for both of those. There's a few logistics. Some people don't stay till the end for work reasons and miscellaneous reasons. Most do stay to the end. The highest percentage on the call do. But in case you do need to leave early, I will be working with 2 women going into the month of September, if anybody's interested in that. There's the book I'll be talking about later. It's critically important to understanding the feminine attributes. We've got a course coming up on redefining success, which is going to take this way deeper. And we'll also be doing facilitator circle training courses that'll take place worldwide. And we've got women trained in Malaysia, Russia, and around the world right now, bringing the feminine attributes out. Gina Liberman will be with us today. We'll have a formal introduction to her in a few minutes. She's amazing. She will also have a special for you at the end. And that's some of the basic housekeeping I want to make sure that you know. There'll be more on later. Staying connected is one of the most important things that we do with women. Women call, write, ask for ideas, ask for network connection. We really do serve as a place that people go to. We have Facebook active at all times. We may even be active right now with Carol Lawrence, our social media woman who I see on the list. She actually could be on Facebook or tweeting right now. If you have anything in this course that shines for you, share it. That's how women ignite. We ignite by knowing someone else is out there and that something that struck us will also strike them and maybe save a life or get someone to be quite inspired in their life. Much of our work is based in online courses, but we work with business skills. We want to see tangible things happen. We want you to have skill development. And we also want you to know that the topics that we work with relate to values. Now, gratitude is a core value. It does place a central role in our life, but often it's very understated. Today we'll be working on that. I'll give you a couple philosophies and many tools, as will Gina. But the thing that you'll notice that we do is we'll work with business and we'll work with you becoming successful, but from the inside out. And that's really what we want to do today, is have you notice what shines for you, what would change your life, what would make your life better. So have you ever stopped to think that gratitude may just be a golden key to improving your quality of life? I mean greatly. Have you ever stopped to think that that one simple, understated, very often ignored, divine principle could make a huge difference in the way that you live? And we know people are writing gratitude journals, and we know that this particular theme comes up on Thanksgiving. We had Patty Hawn, Goldie Hawn's sister here on Thanksgiving last year, the night before Thanksgiving, and we did an amazing call that included gratitude. So we know people are talking about this. We know it's in our awareness, but how can we bring it alive off the page? That's what we want to do today. We want to talk about practices, and we want to talk about a particular belief that I have that I want to hear what you think about. Here it is. I believe that the degree to which you include gratitude in your daily life, I don't mean every now and then, in your daily life and your practices directly affects the success that you're experiencing in your life. Okay? So what the premise here of this whole piece of work is that gratitude, we hear balance and all these words that are very important, and gratitude gets shoved in that corner as one that we all know. Yep, we know it. But I want you to really know it. I want you to really live it. Even the dark side of it, which we'll touch on today. I want you to understand it. And from a point of view that not just that moment where your heart shines and twinkles because something's amazing. I want you to see where it's present and where it's not present in each day of your life. And there's a reason for that. Because that will directly affect the success that you have in your life and how you experience life. And Thornton Wilder said, we can only be said to be alive in those moments when our hearts are conscious of our treasures. That's a tall order. Life moves fast. We get bounced around in the waves. We don't always have a chance to stand back and feel all the goodness. And we don't always need to be feeling all the goodness. But there's a consciousness of our treasures that is going to be a golden key that will change the way you see things going forward if you really get this whole piece of work. Well, this summer I've had a number of unexpected challenges. And it's taken me to a place where I've had to slow down, look at the whole picture, and really begin looking at specific ways to create greater ease in my life. And I've been working daily on bringing about principles, practices, anchors, ways to bring me back to a present state that allows me to continue and to find ease, to slow down, to smell the roses, and to accomplish way more than ever before with ease, even in tumultuous times. That's always been one of my greatest fears, in a sense, is when things get busy and a challenge or two gets thrown at you, and you get thrown right off course. What happens then? When we're in equilibrium, when we're feeling like the work is working, the partner is working, the whole lifestyle is working, we can clearly feel in our game. But we want to be in our game when we're on top of the horse and when we're lying by the horse. We want to be in our game when things become even bigger than we think we can handle. There are some universal principles, and there are some anchors that can help us during those times. And I want to share the 3 principles that I've been working with this summer, believe me, daily, and how they've expanded my way of thinking and being. And maybe just one of these will open up a way of being for you. Maybe just one of these will trigger something. If it does, write it down, go away, and bring it into your life. So I'm convinced that when these 3 qualities are all lined up together in a day, amazing things happen. Okay? We're talking about gratitude because gratitude is one of them. Gratitude is the place where this all comes together. Gratitude is the place where our life ignites and holds the wholeness. It's the place we smile. It's the twitter or twinkle in our heart. But there's some friends, I call them the sisters of gratitude, that are also important in anchoring ourselves in times of challenge and joy. So I wanted to kind of get you thinking about a daily practice. What would a practice for you look like if you were going to incorporate these three things? For example, or maybe replace one with what's most important to you that you need now. But a daily practice, and Gina's going to guide us on this deeper towards the end with ideas she's got on daily practice. But what about these three things? I want to hear what you think as we open the lines later. These are the three things that for me meant the world to me this summer. I know that we need to be whole because it's our time. We say that on every call. And I know that we need to find our own wisdom that needs to be expressed. And I know that most of the women on this call are very aware that this is our time. So what are our tools? What do we have that we need to rely on to be the strong women that we need to be in the world today? Okay? Now, this is what I really learned this summer. I learned that the conscious choices that I make each day, rough and easy days, challenging and joyful days, days of opportunities and days of strength, the conscious choices, they're the vehicle. They're the vehicle that brings alive my daily action. Okay? Think about your conscious choices. We're going to go deeper in this in a minute. How conscious are they? You know, that's what I want to know. How conscious are your choices? If you're a woman and you're going to be one of the women out there creating a difference in the pond, the rock that hits the surface, the ripple of the water, how conscious are they? Are we reacting? We'll get into that deeper. I also realized that my self-awareness of why I'm here, even in a busy, crazy day, remembering, as our John O'Donohue quotes from previous work tells us, and our new piece of work launching in October around Divine Destiny teaches us, that we're here for a reason. Hello. Our self-awareness on that particular aspect, our self-awareness on why we're here, what that personal destiny is, checking in with it daily. A lot of our sisters that came on from Talent.me went through a practice with me on that in those 3 courses. So that whole idea of our self-awareness every day is very important. We're going to talk more about that. And then the big sister, gratitude. You can't, I don't believe you cannot reach optimum success without gratitude being a part of your day. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the dark side of gratitude as well, because there is a dark side to gratitude. And she can be our greatest teacher. So I'm proposing today that the conscious choices, that they're the actual vehicle that bring our daily actions alive. And I'm proposing that the self-awareness of our personal destiny, you're here for a reason. We're going to get into that a bit more. And big sister gratitude. If you're playing those 3 cards each day of your life, you're going to probably live a different quality life than you're living right now. Okay? And if you're living all 3 of these, please put your hand up. Please teach us what it is that makes that work for you at the end of the call. And we'll actually make sure we get to you. So if I'm going to tell you about these 3 things a little bit more, and I'll be brief because there's quite a lot to cover, but I don't want you to not hear these 3 because I believe that they have been my anchor this summer. And I want to share them with you because they may be useful. Each day, I run through the day in the morning and I notice what choices I'm making about that day. Am I sitting for my practice? Am I listening to what my body says? Am I consciously putting things in my calendar that will allow me to expand more into the destiny or the reason I'm here, which we're going to cover next? Okay? I question that. Is the client I'm working with someone who I can really, really enhance the life of? Is that person someone that I know I can be present and whole for and hear her? And at the night, when the night comes, can I rest? Can I renew? What are the choices I'm making? These are always based on my values. We do deeper work on values in redefining success. So consider that if you want to go deeper, but know your values. Write them down now. What are the top 3 things that you most value? So if you start today noticing the guidance that might be coming through that you didn't notice yesterday, you're halfway there. Okay? And if you start to clearly notice the messages and new information from within and from without, you're going to be way further ahead. It's paying attention. It's being conscious. And if you allow yourself to actually screen things that might be imposed on you by the busy mind, like, I better do that because they told me I need to do that. Now, there's things we have to do, but what is it that we're doing that we really don't need to be doing? That the busy mind, because of beliefs from the past or balls and chains on our ankle, insists that we do. They need to go. We need to make choices that incorporate both our inner sense of knowing and the rational mind. But we need to have a measurement for that. We need to measure that against the destiny that we live, why we're here. Many of you know John O'Donohue's work, and he talks a lot about knowing ourselves. And he talks a lot about being able to create for ourselves a way of being in the world that allows us to come into ourselves whole because we have a destiny. And each of us has that destiny that allows us to live with meaning. And when we live with meaning, we actually live a life of richness. So let's go back a step and let's actually take a look at what it is that we really want to do in the world when we become much richer and more tuned in to being who we are, integrating that rational mind, and being at choice. When you really start to look at and identify what's ideal for you, you'll begin to know that that is a direct relationship, indirect relationship to your destiny if you're relating it to the reason you wake up and love your life. If you start to examine and know thyself and have a clear understanding of who you are and what brings you the most joy, you start to align with your destiny. If you have a clear sense for what you do best, this is where the destiny starts really coming alive, and what you want to do more of, and what you want to actually bring out in the world. This is conscious living, relating to number 1, conscious choices. So when our choices are conscious, and we know ourselves and we know why we're here, and we incorporate our feminine attributes, which we teach consistently at the Essential Feminine Company and are listed in the book, all 26 of them. And you start to build those into your day, and you're using imagination and vision and power, and you're aware of why you're here, and you're showing up, and you realize that you've got a unique way of working that no one else can work with. No one else can do it the way you do it. Then you really are starting to put together a life that creates the potential for gratitude. So if I look at conscious choices in the morning, and then I run through and I realize why I'm here, we have a 3-point test if anybody wants to do that. We've done it a lot with the Talent.me women. And that test guides us to check in every day and see why we're here. And we start to line our day up with that bigger purpose. And then we move into gratitude. We start to put a life together that's much richer. We start to see more ease and less struggle. It doesn't mean the struggle will go away. Believe me, I started this call by saying, I've had a challenging summer. I've moved my 90-year-old mother near me. We've launched a lot of new programs for the fall that you can look forward to. We've worked on doing some very, very new things and very innovative things within the company. I've moved. There's been a lot of transition. But in that transition, I begin to realize that it's only with the gratitude, that third piece, the big sister, that my life has become richer. And in that gratitude, I've also come to realize that there's a light and a dark side to gratitude. But that gratitude unlocks the fullness of life, and it turns what we have into that's just enough into more. There's something about gratitude that really does shine a light. And it's kind of the understated sister of the three. So if we know that the three tools we're looking at today are conscious choices and really knowing our destiny, I think gratitude's the big sister because she turns all our denial into acceptance, chaos into order, as Melody says on the screen right now, confusion into clarity. And she also turns a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of the past. Stop and think about what you are grateful for from your past. And she brings peace for today. In this moment, what are you grateful for? And then she creates a vision for tomorrow, doesn't she? She gives us a glimpse of what's possible. So we have to start realizing that we are the ones that will create or enrich a daily practice to stay conscious of these three powerhouses. And if one of them doesn't shine for you, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Pull back, put yours in, move one of ours out. But realize that when conscious choices are what you look at when you wake, that they're the vehicle of your actions, and that your self-awareness of your reason for being here, and then your big sister of gratitude as a practice, which I'm going to talk about coming up soon, about how to invite her in and her dark side. You're lining up some powerful stuff here. So I want you to take a moment. I'm going to quiet down for just a second, and I want to ask, what could a new daily practice look like for you? What could it look like? What could be in it? Would you wake up? Would you sit quietly? Would you meditate so you could feel your body? Are you already doing that? Bravo if you are. Would you pick something like readings from Celtic scholars who have a connection with the earth? We'll be bringing out much more of their work as we progress, and John O'Donohue being one. Would you sit and contemplate the things that you have in gratitude? Would you walk? Would you run? Would you enter the zone? Would you learn more about yourself in silence? Would you write? Would you journal? There's women on this call that are doing gratitude journals right now that write or call and tell me that their lives have changed. And what would that practice look like for you? I'm just going to give you a minute to contemplate that. Start it tomorrow. Because the minute you take one or two of those things and make them alive in your life's going to change. Do you remember the quote I had at the very beginning? It was myself, a paragraph that I put together that came from my heart to yours. That the minute we start realizing and living from that place of gratitude, our life will be entirely different. So if we can ask, where can you build these gifts more consistently and consciously into your life's going to change. The quality and meaning of your life are going to change. Now, why are we spending so much time on something that might even be one of those things like balance and equilibrium and all the words that we hear people say so much in our coaching world and consulting worlds? Why are we spending so much time on her? Because I really believe that when you create a practice of gratitude, that it helps you to become aware of who you are and what you value most. And if you'll remember in the beginning of this call, one of the very first things I said is that we here at the Essential Feminine Company base 99% of our work on value. What a woman values. If I start a session with you, I want to know what's important to you. First call, what is it that's important now? Talk to me. Tell me. Okay, that's where you are now. Where are you now? This minute. And your values are out there. Okay, great. What connection can we make between where you are now and what you most value? And what's that going to look like going down the road? I mean, that's the work we're doing on the calls. So when you sit and do this yourself, you've got an opportunity to create a practice of gratitude because it's the foundation that links us to all that we value and enlivens our life. So the little 3-point thing that we work with a lot here, just to drop in quickly and get a good sense for how to walk away with a tool. Remember we talked about tools? Get clear on what you value most. Measure daily how alive this value is in your business and overall life, and leverage your gifts and talents, the ones that you most enjoy. Now, doesn't that make a feeling of gratitude happen just hearing that? And then recreate what fills your day and how you use your precious life energy. Okay? That's a formula we've been working with the Talent.me women on, of which there are a number on the call today. So many of you have probably integrated this because we've been working on it from the entire spring months. So if you get clear on what you value most, if this is all we give you today, I value most my peace of mind and time and health. Okay, then we measure our day in how much of this is alive in your life. Can you see the frustration that we go through when that is not alive in our life? Very often we have great frustration because it's not alive in our life. And then we start to recreate our day with what fills us up, which what gives us our precious life energy. I like to sometimes put definitions in the work that I do because I find that we need to have contrast. And we also sometimes need definitions. Today we didn't do a definition. A lot of our work, people that are here, some know us, know that we'll do a definition of the title. Well, I decided today to do the opposite of gratitude. Okay? So if we are looking at a life that is the opposite of gratitude and appreciation, for example, we're going to be living a life of resentment, right? We're not grateful. We're resenting. We might be living frustration. We might be living irritability. We might be living inadequacy, and we might even sometimes feel unworthy. Is there anybody on this call that any one of those strikes today? If so, make sure your hand is raised and you want to bring it up. We'd like to work with it, because when we start working with the opposite of gratitude and appreciation, we start to notice what the enemies of creating this life of ease are. When we live in resentment, when we live in frustration, when we're irritable, feeling inadequate and unworthy, we know the equilibrium has been lost. We know we need to do something to come back into our full self or find our full self. Sometimes women will come on the call and say, yeah, but I've never really felt that whole. And that's a really important thing to know. So the conscious choices begin here. These are choices to feel resentment, to feel frustration, to feel irritable, inadequate, unworthy. Let's look at what could the choices be instead of those things moving forward. So one of the things that I want to do before we move on to true nature is talk a little bit about the dark side of gratitude. We know that when we're whole and things are working easily, we can feel very, very much in our stride. We can skip. We can feel life just flowing along with us. But sometimes, and this I think is one of the truest golden keys we'll offer you today, sometimes we need to understand that when we are in the hardest moments of our life and we are grateful for them, this is a really big one to say, and people can really want to scream at this point, please do. You are really given the opportunity to be thankful for that experience. Now, I have a feeling some women are hearing that going, oh, how can she say that? And you know, this summer I had a few things that made me really test that. And what I learned was that when I could stop and say, because this is happening now, I am stronger and gaining more insight than I would have had this not happened. And I thank you for that. For me, that has been a big part of my personal growth. And for me, it has taught me that my sense of self is really formed in the moments of my greatest challenges. Being Celtic, we study the light and the dark. It's a very big part of the Celtic tradition. The light cannot live without the dark, and the dark cannot live without the light. Anyone that does the Abraham work on this call knows that contrast is critical, but we need to stay awake during the contrast to use the knowledge that it gives us. Okay? So I just want to make sure that we will touch on that a little later, but that gets said. There's a light and a dark side, and we need to be able to incorporate both. And that gives us a little bit of pressure off when we're in the dark. The other thing I want women to do more of, and we do this a lot, is to look at some of who we are in our true nature. When you're aligned with your true nature, it's a lot easier to be grateful and to live a happier life. So when we start to understand and be conscious, remember the first one, conscious choices? When we start to make conscious choices that really incorporate our true nature, that allows us to be aware of the riches in our life, and it allows us to really move more into a deeper level of happiness. And there's a relationship between gratitude and happiness. So if you are a woman who really holds power, values freedom, really respects grace, one of my favorites, has infinite potential and possibilities and is connected to that and aware of it, values happiness, values joy, and moves into bliss, know that about yourself. Know what it is that becomes and is part of your true nature. Because when we're aware of our nature, some women have no desire for power. Some women value freedom more than anything. Some women understand their innate and infinite potential and possibilities and live day to day to make that alive. So know who you are. I've given you a few to think about here. And there'll be many more in your life, but know what these qualities mean to you. And we are working on redefining success in September. It will not be tomorrow. We've completed and filled our current courses, but it will be September 12th and 18th. And I think that's a chance to really go deeper into those qualities. Because when we know who we are, know thyself, another central premise in this work, we're a lot stronger. So let's go back to gratitude, our big sister. Gratitude is the heart's memory. I mean, to me, that is so entirely beautiful and very sweet. It is the heart's memory. I want to tie happiness and gratitude together here, and then we're going to move to Gina. What happens with happiness is that happiness is, again, a choice. This might sound crazy. For those that do a lot of Abraham work, you'll be with me on this one. My premise on this work is that when we make conscious choices, we know why we're here, and we live with gratitude as a premise to our day, both light and dark, being grateful for what we have, being grateful for what we don't have, envisioning what we would like to move into in our life, being grateful for what we envision before it's even here, loving the dark side of gratitude. We're starting to get into some deeper aspects of gratitude here. And in these deeper aspects of gratitude, you start to form your practice. And we start to feel a lightness often in the sessions I do with women. I understand, Maureen, why I'm here. I understand the conscious choices I'm making in the morning. You know, that gratitude practice, it's not the skim the rock on the surface. It's deeper. I've got my practice. Well, then we're talking to a pretty solid woman. Is that you? And then we start looking at where happiness fits in, because that's what happens next. We start to move towards a place of fulfillment, which is part of the title of Redefining Success, Claiming a Life of Fulfillment and Happiness. And we start to look at this very fascinating thing about a Squiddo blogger. I'm going to read it to you, because to me it's been a really big, we just used this here a few times and really loved it. So I wanted to talk about why gratitude and happiness relate. And this Squiddo blogger, Law Kevin, is the guy who probably wrote it best. So I put it on the screen, and I'm going to read it to you really quickly. Gratitude and happiness, how being grateful can have a huge positive impact on your life. Gratitude means thankfulness, counting your blessings, noticing simple pleasures, appreciating the people in your life, and acknowledging everything that you receive, everything. It means learning to live your life as if everything was a miracle. Gratitude shifts your focus from what your life lacks to the abundance that is already present. In addition, behavioral and psychological research has shown the surprising improvements that can stem from a practice of gratitude can change your entire life. And giving thanks, making people happier and more resilient, strengthens relationships and improves and heals lives and reduces stress. And if you read this lens to discover how you become if you read this into your life and you begin to live your life more, you'll start to see where gratitude is a part of every day. And I thank him. I thank him for giving us that piece and making it alive so in our own life we can see how important it is. Do you see how each area touches another? And how when we give and we receive the miracle, it turns into a direct effect in someone else's life. And we're all interconnected. So as we look at that, we also have a few other theories that relate. Because we think that many times those gifts that we pass along and we acknowledge in our own life are all we're talking about when we redefine success. It's really the inside aspects of what life is about that creates our new definition of success. We look very often here at why we need to recreate success. We do courses on it. Many things are based on material outcomes. We move them from the inside out so women can feel the joy of really experiencing their life, holding gratitude, making choices, and moving very tangibly into success from a point of view that gives them a life force and opens up their life. And gratitude is central to this as well. And we're really just delighted to be able to bring Gina in now, as Gina will guide us even more and further into this topic. I want to actually get Gina online here and welcome you, Gina. Gina, I've given a lot of different ideas here. I want to welcome you to the living room.
Thank you. It's a joy.
It's great to have you here. I want to tell you a little bit about Gina. She's a powerhouse in her own right, but very subtle. Gina Liberman is has her background in transpersonal psychology. She's an intuitive counselor and consults with women about creating a whole new way of life. Gina is absolutely beautiful. We've got her on the screen here, and I just want to give you a little background on her. We met 13 years ago, and Gina was instrumental in the early days of the Essential Feminine Company before we were called the Essential Feminine Company. We did a lot of work on what I had in my life as far as experience, and she helped me synthesize a lot of the material that we're presenting now back about 13 years ago. It's marinated, grown, and now the courses are growing, and they're worldwide with often thousands of women on a call. So Gina's been really instrumental. I'm going to pull a few things from her bio and be brief. She's got a vast background in psychology, spirituality, and holistic arts. She's also an artist. She does a lot with voice, and she has a lot of her life work focused on deeper levels of self-discovery. She works as an innovator in leadership and with women, and she's also done a lot of work with restorative yoga. She's got an amazing life in Africa and has done work in Zambia with her partner, Brent, who's an amazing being, and we've seen some of his work as well. And life balance is a focal point for her, and I just want to welcome her to the Essential Feminine Living Room and just have you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to and what you're grateful for. So I want to hand you the mic.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a joy to be with you and hear you do what you do best. It's a wonderful presentation. I feel very blessed to be a part of it. So gratitude is such a rich topic, and I'm very pleased that you've taken it upon yourself, Maureen, to bring this more to the forefront, because it is something that can fall into the background because it can seem to be so subtle, but is actually such an important key in our lives, in our everyday lives. And so that's the relationship that I have with it personally. Is I keep it very close to me, and it really helps me derive meaning in life, in challenges, in times of joy. And it's such a simple, fundamental practice. You don't have to go anywhere to learn it. You don't have to pay a big price. You just you just can sit still and find it in yourself, and I think that's what makes it so special.
It's beautiful. And I think there's some things that I know that you've been working on, and in your own life, you've got a really rich life and a really international life. Where do you, like when someone comes up and says a question as twee, I mean, because the word gratitude is, like I said, balance and, the different things that we are all working on, but that have become so almost numb to the depth of what, in this particular case, gratitude really is. It's thrown around a lot. How do you answer a question with some depth when I say to you, what are you most grateful for today?
Well, if I was to just sit still in this very moment, I feel grateful for my breath, and my heart is pounding a little bit, probably due to some uh, equal mixtures of excitement and nervousness,
Mm-hmm.
which gives me a deeper sense of humanity, which I feel grateful for. Um, I feel grateful at this time of my life I'm able to spend a bit more time with family, and that's been very rich, particularly with the contrast of being far away from family during much of my travels. So those are a few examples of what I'm grateful for
And
today.
you know what I loved most? I loved what you said when I sit still and access that gratitude. I feel like that's really what this whole thing is about. And like if you said to me, Maureen, can you sum up what you really want people to go away with today? I'd say that gratitude has a light and dark side. And in the dark side, we can also stop and be grateful. And I'd say that when you look forward into your life and you want to manifest something, be thankful for it before it arrives. And if everybody went off the call and did those two things, that would ripple out in the world in a huge, huge way. But I know you've got some new things that you want to introduce too that have been important to you. And I know you've got a poem, a couple of revelations, and 3 tools. And then I asked you to think about your own golden key. So would you start into this and kind of guide us through what you want us to know about gratitude?
Absolutely. So the first thing that occurred to me that I wanted to share was a poem that I wrote a number of years ago. I was in New York, and I was having a very interesting mixed experience. On one hand, I was really so excited by the the colors and the culture of New York and the creativity. However, at that time of my life, I was actually going through some heartache. So there was a bittersweetness to this particular trip. And while I was there, it was sunset, and this poem came to me. So I'll share it with you now. At sunset, I am happy, the privilege that I may glimpse such beauty and no reverence for this life. Amidst any heartache or broken spiritedness, there is light in the sun, and the park stands free, and the night sky beckons my inner light to glow, and I hear a new kind of music that makes me want to dance. And as a result of what came through in that poem, which very much ties into what you shared, Maureen, about the light and dark, is that the fertile ground for gratitude, as I see it, is the everyday. It's the blessing of this very moment, and that it is not only through gain that we can feel gratitude, but it's also through loss, because it's during times of loss and challenge and adversity that we're actually brought closer to the unchanging resiliency within us, which I see as courage and as love. And it's our ability to find thankfulness in the most immediate circumstances, and even when we don't know where to look for it, we can just start with the breath and the sense of the heartbeat. So it's a very special practice because it lives quite close to us and it is available to all of us. And so the second revelation, so to speak, that came to me on gratitude was that everything is mulch for our growth. Everything has the capacity to stimulate a higher sense of being in ourselves, just as in the poem, it's through the night sky or the dark night that beckons the inner light inside to glow. And often you can't find that inner light unless there is darkness around you. So it's a very special and delicate balance between the two. And when we can hold reverence or deeply held trust in that what we've been given has been uniquely designed for our growth and for our polishing, then gratitude comes into play.
So even in the moments where we're feeling tested, we can actually allow for gratitude to have a light shine on it.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that when we have these challenges, sometimes it can be a point of resistance. And you're saying invite the light on that challenge and realize what is the meaning of it and be grateful for the outcome and be grateful for it in the moment and the outcome for what is the aftermath of it. I love that, and I have to say we're joined at the hip on that. In these recent months. I love that. And you also wanted to share some tools with us that would help us to connect with that. What do you think? Because, I mean, you've done a lot of work with women and in the deeper realm of their soul. How do we do that?
Well, I think that there are a number of tools that can help us get in touch with gratitude, and then there's the actual practice. So, as far as getting in touch with gratitude, I think that one of the first steps we can take is recognizing that which is seen in our lives that we've been gifted, essentially. So if we're looking at the real basics of what's visible in our lives, we can say, oh, we have food, we have shelter, we have nature, we have our breath, we have the ground under our feet. And then digging a little deeper, we can look at that which is unseen in our life, which we may experience as love, being loved, being able to give love, a fundamental sense of goodness in ourselves and in others. These are more of the unseen values that we can identify with, which can get us in touch with gratitude, and also by engaging in the act of giving. If we're unsure what there is to be grateful for, I find when I engage in the act of giving, it stimulates the gratitude muscle, so to speak.
Gorgeous. So you're saying that be aware of the seen, the things we can see to be grateful for in our lives, and be aware of the unseen, and then that is more or less a tool, and then also take it a step further and give or serve or give to really begin to then feel gratitude flowing in your own life. So there's kind of like a couple of tools that we could go off and start doing. If we're feeling that lack of appreciation, all those things that I gave as a definition of the opposite of gratitude, we could actually be proactive and maybe give to someone that's hurting, and then it might flow more in our life, gratitude.
Yes, and I think that there are two aspects to the practice. There's the internal practice, which is more or less nonverbal, and we can practice it through our presence. because as I see it, the greatest form of giving thanks or expressing gratitude is through our presence, and how we give it externally is through our vocalization of gratitude, through speech, through the written word, through a smile. But ideally, well, we can give things, we can give of our resources, which is an absolutely tremendous gift, but also remembering that sometimes the most impactful gift or way of sharing our gratitude is through non-things. So giving away the gift of our love, giving away the gift of our time, giving away the gift of our presence, of bearing witness to something. These are what I find to be the most powerful ways of practicing gratitude.
Very, very powerful work. Can we picture a world where that would be enlivened?
Yes.
Yes, that's how I think we spend a lot of our life doing work because we believe that that's where we're headed. Does that really give us, there are the tools you want us to walk away with, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I hear it, and there's a few things I've gotten from that kind of went right into my solar plexus. For some reason, it's sitting there in a warm, very comfortable way. You also said that you have a golden key to gratitude that's been a part of your practice. I actually asked you to be here today because I see you as one of the people in my life who has been grateful for everything I've ever done for you in a way that shines and has allowed your gratitude to fill my life, which is why when I was looking at the topic, you came immediately to mind. Has there been a golden key to gratitude that has really enhanced your life?
Yes, there has, and what it has to do with is stimulating the feeling of success within the self. And you know, you were speaking quite a bit about redefining success, and I see it as it's not just our outer resources and our outer resourcefulness, but it's stimulating the sense of inner wealth. And I see inner wealth as being able to find that point of stillness. When I experience being loved or being able to share love, to me that's success with a capital S. When I feel that I can give something of my spirit, that is success. And when I feel connected to that level of inner wealth, that to me is the golden key.
So you're saying that don't take for granted some of the small things that don't seem to be in the realm of how we conventionally, stateside particularly, we've got women from all over the world here in many different religions, faiths, but how conventionally very often a westernized version of success is, let's put that aside, like we're doing in the course, Redefining Success. Let's set that aside. Let's go from the inside and realize that when you give love or when you care or when you have been able to make a change or help someone or whatever that quality is that isn't really of a material nature, it's fine to have that as well. But if it's not the focus, the golden key is actually to allow those things to be enlivened in your life, and then you feel richer.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
Well, you know, I think we could go on all day, you and me, and we have. We've done lots of work together, and it's been really fun. I wanted to actually really open this up for a little bit of a discussion. Before I do that, I want to make sure that we talk a little bit after the hour, everyone. So if you need to run, we understand. But we do have some of the most enlivening conversations in the dialogue that opens up after our living room. And people get to know each other, and events have occurred. And one woman has referred someone to someone in London, and they're friends now. And we, you know, this can be a juicy part of our living room. But I want to make sure that there's a couple things you know before we open the dialogue, and there'll be a few questions. One of them is that Gina is going to stay connected and stay with us here in the dialogue, and she can be reached at Gina Liberman at earthlink.net and on US 305-432-2050. So I know you wanted to make something available to the ladies as a part of a connection with you, Gina, and what is that?
Yes. First of all, I just want to thank each of you for the effort that you've put forth to be a part of this call, particularly those that are in a later time zone where it's getting late in the evening. So what I'd like to do is extend a special offer to the women who are on the call, that if you make contact with me today by phone or email to schedule, you'll receive $25 off of your first consult. And it would be a gift that I can give to you, and
How
a
sweet.
sign of my thanks for
Thank you. And
reaching forward.
I encourage women to do that, and the number is on the screen. And then also just I wanted to give you a couple of more things as well, and then we'll repeat that later, Gina, that Oprah has this thing that she was talking about on her website, and I just wondered maybe if you could hear this, Gina, and give me your thoughts as well, and we'll open the discussion with it. A tool to shed light on what you might already be grateful for. If you want to start attracting positive things into your life, Oprah says that there is one thing that you should do every day, and that's show gratitude, appreciation, and love for the people and things around you on a daily basis. This is the essence of today's call. Find something that you're appreciative of or something that you're grateful for. Start a journal. We've got some women on the call today that have done that. Or you might even want to call it an appreciation or gratitude journal. Write a couple minutes a day in it. By acknowledging what you are grateful for in your journal, in your life, you'll become deliberate attractor of positive vibrations. And did you know that appreciation, gratitude, and love are the highest forms of vibration? We're all energy. If you're vibrating at a high level, not a bad thing. And you can only have one vibration at a time. And if it is gratitude, well, then what will the world feel like? So she goes on and talks a little bit more of that on her website. So I wanted to kind of move us into dialogue also before we we move on into that there are some things to stay connected with, and then I want to really go right back to the gratitude piece, and that is that of course you can always work privately with me, call me, write me. Redefining Success is full. We filled the last class, and we're going to be holding that. This is going to take it deeper. That's going to be September 12th and 18th. And then the book, go online and get it. Very reasonable and full of attributes that you hold. And then the next living room, of course, is September. But Gina, I want you to stay with me now as we start to take some of this further. And I'm wondering, did anybody have any experience that they want to share that was triggered from today's call? And if not, there are women here that I'll just touch base with and make a connection with and just see if we can have a conversation. I'm wondering if Carol can hear me. Carol Lawrence, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. A little closer to the mic would be great. But did anything strike you? You've been around this company a while, and you've been doing social media, and you're getting a front line view of what women feel. Did anything strike you today?
I just loved it all, and I really loved how you really summed up the end when you were saying gratitude and love are some of the highest forms of vibration, and just the power behind the different acts of gratitude, and how Gina was talking about how just when we give love out or we volunteer our time, or there's more to giving gratitude than just the financial.
How?
And I really appreciated that.
Yeah, that's pretty brilliant. I want to also see if I can bring on. I'm just opening a few mics, and if anybody doesn't want to speak, as always, please let me know. Linda, I don't know if you're in London. Can you hear me? You're still awake there? It's only 9 o'clock, right?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hello. I just love to say hi to you. Yes, we can hear you.
Maureen, as ever, I'm eternally grateful to you. You know, we've been working together for a few years, and I'm very grateful for having you in my life. And what really came up for me, actually, as you'll know, I've been dealing with bereavement around my mother, who died in very difficult circumstances several years ago. And what really came up is trying to come to that gratitude around what was going on in that time, and that is becoming very rich, kind of surprisingly, for me.
Mm.
So thank you for shining that light.
It's interesting, isn't it? In retrospect, sometimes we have to find ourselves to allow ourselves to find that darkness and allow that to be of a lesson. And that's the hardest part. But you know what? I think it's the deepest aspects of gratitude. But thank you, Linda. I'm going to see, I don't know if I can try Sharon, and I'm not sure if Sharon will be able to hear us. I don't think so, Sharon. Hello? Yeah, Sharon's on a phone. So we'll just try a few more. And if anybody has anything they particularly want to say, there's a lot of women here from all over the world. I want to also just see if I can catch a couple of women that I'm just going by here. And I'm wondering, Monica, can you hear us? I don't know you, and I'm wondering if you have an access to hear us. Okay, great. And Gina, while I'm choosing some women here, because there's quite a few, and I know some and don't know all, is there anything that you want to add as we kind of move forward?
I'm just smiling. I'm just enjoying so much being a part of this, and can feel the dedication of the group in spending their hour with us. So I'm just enjoying it.
It's great. You know, Janina, I don't know if you can hear us. Janina is one of the very first living room folks that we ever had online. And I don't know, can you hear me today?
Yes, I can.
Oh,
Can you
it's
hear
so
me?
great to hear you. I mean, really, because we've tried a few times. We had a couple technology glitches.
I know. You know, I'm so thrilled with this one because you and Gina have really hit, you know what I've gone through financially and that horrible part of my life. And I felt so inadequate in terms of my gratitude because I was so used to giving on the financial, material level, and part of me now has learned how to give all the, I wrote it down. The most impactful gifts are through non-things like love and time and preciousness and witnessing and wisdom. And that's what I've been doing. And I'm finding such a balance and such a wholeness in my life. And I wanted to share this with you, that it's not necessarily the financial, that you can go through that and you can come up and through it and out of it. And as you know, I met Camille through you.
Right.
And I've done the meditation courses, and the one chapter that I love the most, it might sound bizarre, but I am Celtic background as well, was going through that dark period and the dark and the light. And just coming through all this and knowing that those amazing positive energy vibrational points that we have, that's not the word I want to use, the spiritual aspects of loving and giving and mentoring, and they're so, you have such gratitude for that, and people have gratitude for you, and you don't realize that that's what you're doing.
Isn't it amazing?
I find it so exciting
Yeah.
and so exhilarating.
Yeah, and it's always so good. You're an amazing doctor, some neurosurgeon, and have put so
Well,
much
neuropsychology was my thing, and yeah.
And you've had such an insight into so many things, and you've added so much richness to our living rooms over the last 3 years that when I saw you, I really wanted to make sure that you were present.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
and
so much.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, I want to say thank you to both of you, and I'm sorry that I haven't come on sooner, but there's been a lot of transition in my life, too. So, you know, I think we all meet up when it's meant to be.
Exactly right, when it's exactly right, and you are here, and I was just happy to see your name. We've got a
Yeah,
question.
likewise.
Yeah, and I want to try to see if I can bring in Joy. I don't know, Joy, if you've been able to hear me today. I'm going to try to unmic you here and see. Can you hear me? That would be Joy Selden. Yeah, she's been around for quite a while with us here in the Essential Feminine Company and often has quite a few insights to add. And I'm going to try someone who we haven't had a chance to really speak with for a long time and see if Susan, can you hear me? That would be, hi, it's been forever, and we're just so glad to see you on the living room, or in the living room.
Really lovely.
It's great. I'm just wondering how you are and if anything struck you.
Well, a couple of things did strike me. Being grateful for the difficult times, for the lessons that we learned, that really resonated, and you know that takes a little bit of really focused attention, I think, to achieve that. But in retrospect, there's always gratitude because I have come to a different place as a result of those times. And then the other thing that touched me was to come back to the really simple things like the breath and just presence. That was really beautiful. So thank you both.
Well, we're so pleased you're here. And I mean, we really want to make sure that, Gina, you can really share with women that you're here. I want to share with women that I'm here. If anything strikes you with our style, with our way of connecting with you, we both do private sessions. Gina, would you give your phone number again?
Yes, yes. It's 305-432-2050.
Great.
And I'm also available via Skype for those who are abroad, and I spend some of my time in South Africa, so it makes it helpful that way. But email is also a great point of contact. Gina Liberman at earthlink.net.
Great. And then please join us with private sessions here with myself. Redefining Success is where you'll take this deeper. There are spaces available for the September 12th and 18th. That'll be a Tuesday and Wednesday. We usually do them on a Wednesday, but a Tuesday and a Wednesday. The book, get the book if you want to know your attributes. They're listed, 26 of them. Very easy to access on Amazon. And also the last thing is that we will be joining together in the living room September. Please join us on the third Wednesday. Tell your friends. We're working on getting an amazing horsewoman here for that one, and we'll be looking at really some very, very important aspects of the unseen. So it's going to be a really, really beautiful entry into the autumn, and it's about the unseen and how the unseen really brings us alive when we are tuned in. So on that note, Gina, thank you. It's so wonderful to do some work with you. It's been forever that we've known each other, and it's just great to be live together. And please come back to the living room. And I want to thank everyone that's been here. We're nearing our 1:15 point here in California, and we want to get you off in time for what's next in your life. Thank you, everyone. We're closing the living room, and we'll be in touch, and we'll let you know about the September living room, and join us for some private work if you feel that would support you. Have a beautiful month. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.